Jobs. Jobs are, the number one issue in every congressional election around the country this year. And there are pockets of this district where the unemployment rate is significantly higher than the statewide average. So what specific measures would you undertake to grow jobs?
Thank you very much for the question. Again, and I'll repeat what I was stating earlier. The private sector is where the most sustainable jobs are created. The stimulus package did not create or save 3.5 million jobs that were sustainable. Our unemployment rate was over 8% for 44 months and counting. The private sector where the sustainable jobs are created. The private sector has $2 trillion on their balance sheet right now, but they're not investing their money to innovate. They're not investing their money to create jobs. And why? Because there is no certainty. We have tax risk, we have regulatory risk, and we have political risk. Nothing is getting done down in Washington, D.C. Again, let's cut the corporate tax rate from 35% to 25% for businesses. 35% is the highest corporate tax rate in the world. Let's broaden the tax base and close some of these loopholes. Again, the loophole that businesses are allowed to deduct their moving expenses for moving their operations overseas. Let's close that loophole. Let's give credit to the companies that move their operations back. Businesses move overseas because there's a favorable tax environment. The regulatory environment, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, call it what you will. 2.3% medical device excise tax. Representative Tsongas voted for in the Affordable Care Act. 3 businesses reside in our district, and that's costing them $100 million a year. Boston Scientific has already moved innovation offshore to Ireland and will be moving more to China. It hasn't worked, and we need to give clarity to these small businesses.
Congresswoman Tsongas, 60 seconds.
Thank you for that question, and you're right, we have some communities that have been extraordinarily hard hit, and one of them is Lawrence, Massachusetts, which is home to actually 2 very robust manufacturing companies, and we did a Make It in America town hall there to learn from them what we could do to help them stay here. They've made decisions at the top to do that, but they fight again, over and over again, all the incentives, for example, in our tax code that make it easier to go offshore rather than stay here. So we have to change our tax code to reward companies who stay here. I introduced a piece of legislation called the Hires Act that recognizes that some cities are disproportionately hard hit, and it would be a grant program that would put people to work investing in their communities. I also have worked on the ground. One of the very important roles of a member of Congress is to be engaged, to bring resources. And we learned about a company in Lawrence. It was going to go to North Carolina. We got engaged. We helped them work with the state and local government. That company is now staying here, about to break ground and add new jobs. In Lowell, Massachusetts, we have an important economic development project that we've been very successful in advancing.
And Mr. Golnik, final rebuttal on this question.
Representative Tsongas, if all of these things that you talk about would improve the unemployment rate in our district, it wouldn't be so high in the old mill cities in our district. We have a real problem in these, and I'll get right back to that 2.3% medical device excise tax. I don't know how you could have voted for the Affordable Care Act that was going to place 2.3% medical device excise tax on 3 large employers in this district. It astounds me, and to be quite honest with you, that the tax is not even on profits. The tax are on gross revenues. So if you have $5 million in revenues from selling a medical device, even if it took $10 million to innovate and create that, you're still paying a 2.3% tax on the $5 million of your gross revenue.
Can I address that, Dr. Sweeney?
If we have one final rebuttal. Go ahead.
I don't think Mr. Golnik knows that when given the opportunity to vote on a standalone piece of legislation, I voted against the medical device tax. And as it first came up, was very concerned about its impact on small, innovative medical device companies. I am a champion of innovation in this district. I have worked very closely with the Small Business Innovation Research Group that focuses very much on money that exists across the federal government, across federal agencies to fund innovation. It is critically important to this state and to the 3rd district, and I understood the impact on the medical device industry. But I wasn't going to throw out the baby with the bathwater, and I wasn't going to vote down the Affordable Care Act that holds such promise for Americans across this country, for bringing down the cost of health care, for creating access, and addressing some of the egregious insurance practices. So I wasn't going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but I guess Mr. Golnik doesn't know that I had a chance to vote against that tax in a standalone bill, and I did.
Mr. Golnik?
Representative Tsongas, you voted for the bill before you voted against it. And at the end of the day, that was no more than a symbolic vote that didn't stand a chance in the U.S. Senate. The Affordable Care Act is a job killer. You say you're concerned about the middle class. The CBO just came out last week with a report that there were going to be 8 million people that were going to be hit with a $1,200 tax. 80% of these people, 80% make $56,000 or less a year. So I'm sorry, Representative Tsongas, I know you say you're looking out for the middle class, but you're burying the middle class with your votes in Congress, with raising their taxes and increasing their cost of living.
All right, let's take the next question.